It's kind of like a blend.
Okay.
Hearing my song, or my name sung too. That was
Taylor
Swift.
My horrendous voice.
No, I liked it.
So this is the life of Taylor Swift, which is constantly moving, new country every day, new city, you don't know what time zone you're in. Do you ever get a second just to kind of stop and go, I've sold this many albums, I've won this many awards, I am the biggest pop star in the world? Do you have those moments to digest?
Yeah, life is pretty busy right now, but I'm very excitable. Like, I get very excited about things as they happen to me. So, yeah, I think that it's interesting because you can't put too much weight in it, but you have to understand and appreciate something cool when it happens to you. So it's like little victories you have to celebrate. I think Ryan Tedder was talking to me about this when we were recording. He said something like, enthusiasm can protect you from anything. Like, if you're an enthusiastic person, you can kind of come back from anything, because you're always, even if you have a failure or you're rejected or criticized for something, you can become enthusiastic about the next thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to live your life.
And I guess it's a real sure sign that you're still really enjoying what you do, which is so important as well.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it more now than ever, actually. It's really weird.
That's so nice. What keeps you pushing on? Because it is such a relentless schedule. What keeps you moving on and striving?
Well, I like to create new challenges for myself. You know, this is a completely different sound on this album than I've ever had before, and so I think there's something so exciting about putting out something brand new. Like, it's not just a new album, it's also sort of switching to a new genre, switching kind of the sound of what I do, and so I think that kind of propels me, like always putting forth this constant obstacle course for myself, because it's exciting for me.
So with this new record, 1989, what was the sort of the pivotal moment where you thought, it's time for a musical shake-up for me? What was that?
Well, I like to take 2 years to make an album, so the first year is a lot of experimentation. And it's just sort of like, I'll try out all kinds of different things and write this kind of song and that kind of song. And after a while, you start to naturally gravitate towards one thing. And that's what happened with this. And the thing I naturally gravitated towards was sort of like late 80s infused synth pop.
Yeah.
Which, and kind of blending that with today's pop sounds. So it's not a throwback album. It's kind of like a blend of those two eras of music, which I think music right now is really great. And I think that music in the late 80s was in a really experimental, wonderful, great place too. So I like to kind of combine the two.
Marry them. Will you go back to your country roots at some point? Is this something that you've kind of moved on from, or will you sort of like navigate back to it eventually?
I don't know. My life is so unpredictable at this point. Like, if you would have told me 2 or 3 years ago, you're gonna move to New York, you're gonna cut your hair short, you're gonna make an album that's based in like synths and like automated drums and layered vocals, I don't think I would have necessarily foreseen that.
Yeah.
But so many things change so quickly for me, and lately I've just been kind of following those impulses. And so it's hard to ever predict where you're going to be, and I don't think I necessarily would want to predict where I'm going.
It's nice to live in the moment for a change, isn't it, I guess? Which is hard to do.
It is hard to do, especially when your life is planned out so meticulously. Like, I know where I'll be on tour a year from now.
Scary.
It is scary. So I try to kind of implement as much spontaneity in my life as I possibly can, especially because you know, this actually is really fun.
Yeah.
And I love doing this, and so I try to enjoy it as much as possible. There's enough things to stress about.
Exactly. And what are the themes that we're going to hear on this new record?
The themes on this record, emotionally, this is an album that isn't really rooted in a devastating breakup. It's not, I didn't go through a devastating breakup this time around. The last 2 years of my life have been about kind of figuring out who I am and figuring out what I want and moving to a big city and prioritizing what I want and my friends and new adventures and prioritizing all of that above anything romance related. And so any kind of song that you'll hear that is touching on sort of a relationship issue is kind of looking back on one and kind of talking about and discussing what I learned from it, rather than like, you did this and now I feel this way.
Yeah,
It's there aren't any real accusations made, or a lot of people are talking about how there aren't any like outright diss tracks or whatever. I don't know if I was known for that, but it seems like when people hear the new music, they're like, whoa, there's not any like real gnarly like burns on this one.
But yeah, you're growing up in not only the media, but through song. People are learning about what you've experienced and how you're growing through your songs. So it's always, of course, going to be ever changing, I guess. And that's what people have to get their heads around, is that you're not going to stay in the same mind frame for each record. It's going to be a big change for you each time.
Absolutely. And it's a big goal for me to continue to write about my personal life, even though I know as soon as I put the album out, there's going to be so much speculation on who's this about, what was it about, what was this, you know, and I think that as a songwriter, I just constantly want to stay vulnerable and stay open to things and stay attuned to what I'm actually feeling and how to translate that into song. Because I think that as a songwriter, you're supposed to stay open and you're supposed to stay vulnerable and you're supposed to feel pain and feel it intensely. As a celebrity, you're kind of encouraged to put up these emotional walls and block out all the voices saying terrible things about you and to you. And so they're mixed messages, and I'm trying to kind of like walk a tightrope in between the two. It's very interesting trying to navigate it.
Yeah, you're like living this crazy paradox that you're having to just kind of juggle the whole time. But I guess that's what people love about you as well, is that you are so immediately honest in your lyrics and what you're saying with your music. With this particular album, are you directing it or are you writing it for others, for fans, for yourself, as a sort of cathartic way of speaking about things? Is it for anyone specific?
Well, it always comes from a place of storytelling. Like I always want to write from a place of like kind of like a diary. And even if I'm making a pop album, I'm not ever going to make a pop album that's just like gonna go to the club and dance, you know, like, and not have really much of a reason for writing that particular song. Like I don't ever want people to be like, oh, like, you know, the beat of that song is kind of cool and like I can dance to it, but like I don't really know what it's about, or I don't know what she wrote that about. There's always, I think coming from Nashville, there's always going to be an element of storytelling in what I do, even if it's pop music, even if it makes you want to dance. I also want it to kind of make you think too.
Yeah, that's the power of music. It's wonderful. And you mentioned they're your friends as well. They seem like such an integral and important part of your whole setup.
They are.
You still have time to have those normal friendships and do normal things with your friends in this crazy world.
Yeah, I do actually.
How do you do it? Do you have to go out in disguise? Do you have to plan things very strategically? How does it work?
Not really. I mean, my friends, if we're not in the mood to be photographed, or if we're not in the mood for people to make a big deal, we just stay in.
Yeah.
So I think with a lot of my friends, one of the main things that I love about them is I'm really not interested in like an entourage of people who tell me what I want to hear all the time. That doesn't thrill me or excite me at all. I have friends who are all passionate about what they do. They all have their own lives, their own jobs, their own things that they're obsessed with, like I'm obsessed with music. And so it keeps me realistic. Like my life is very abnormal at this point, and I want to but I want to have a normal mindset. I want to have a normal attitude. I want to have normal priorities. And so
that's very rare, you realise.
Like I just want my friends to treat me normally. I want them to make fun of me for things that I say that are stupid. I want them to ridicule me for things that I shouldn't be doing. I want them to guilt me into making the right decisions when that's necessary. That's what your friends are supposed to do.
Just normal stuff in your 20s.
Yeah.
And you've picked up some real like-minded souls along the way. I know you've got a lot of friends from back home and from when you were growing up, but you've got some really cool, interesting, creative friends around you as well, like Lord. And we recently saw pictures of you guys on a cooking course together. That looked like so much fun.
We kind of influence each other. I think a lot of people would look at Ella and I and think, oh, they're polar opposites. But as we've become closer and closer, we've kind of rubbed off on each other. Like, she's like becoming a little girlier, and every once in a while I'll paint my nails black.
Yeah, goth.
Like, so I think that our friendship, it's strange that it just makes sense. Like, we play each other everything new we write.
Really?
She was one of the first people that I played the entire album when I finished it.
And what does she say?
She gives the best feedback, and I love it when she picks a favorite, because when she picks a favorite, like, it's so telling, because she has such a great melodic sensibility, and she'll pick out individual melodies that I was super proud of in the studio, but other people haven't really noticed.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, listen to that background vocal part, and I'm like, I know, that was one of my favorites. Nobody points that out.
So do you give each other advice about music with maybe like Lord or Ed or any of the other friends in the music industry, Ellie? Do you kind
Yeah.
of give each other tips and advice?
Well, definitely. I
Yeah?
mean, like Ella sent me the mix for Yellow Flicker Beat, her new song for
great,
Hunger
yeah.
Games, and she was like, "Do you like this mix or the demo mix better?" And so I was just going back and forth listening to each mix, and she, told her which mix I liked better. And
That's so cool.
same thing happened with Ed. Like,
Yeah.
he was on tour with me the entire time he was making his new album Multiply. So it was just like I go through that album, and when I'm listening to it, I think of when the certain thing happened that inspired that song happened to him, when he played it for me for the first time, and when he went into the studio and recorded it, and then all the different mixes that he played me. It was like, it's the most amazing thing to have all those memories with someone, and then to have a piece of art connected to it. It's pretty
So
crazy.
special.
It's like a photo album.
With all of these friends around you, do you ever think, oh man, I wish I'd written that song?
Yes. What, like, yeah, I think with Ed, there are some songs, like there's this groove to this song Runaway on his album that's just like, oh my God, that's so good. And then there's this beautiful song called Tenerife Sea. I've never been able to write love songs the way that Ed does. He writes the sweetest, most like intimate, tender love songs that are so open, and I've never been able to be happy and write songs about being happy. And he does it so well. So that song, I think, is the most envious I've ever been with his music. Just like, how do you channel that so easily? You're so happy and you're translating it so well.
It's so cool that you have this little collection of friends where you can all be like-minded. It's a really beautiful thing. And it seems also like your family obviously mean so much to you, even though you're so crazy on the road, and your mum's often seen with you as well when you're on tour. What kind of influence is she on you?
My mom is she's such an interesting person because she's so sweet and she's so warm, but she's also really, really logical, and when I was growing up, she was very strict. Like, I always felt like I could tell her everything, and she was always that kind of affectionate, comfort type person when I needed comforting, but she also kind of made sure that my brother and I knew about like manners and how to throw a party and how to host people and how to clean a house and kind of all the things that you need to know as an adult. I never felt unprepared for adulthood because my mom had always been pretty strict with us, which I now appreciate. I used to be like, Mom, really?
Yeah, you get it now.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got a lovely house. So I was reading one of your interviews recently where you were showing a journalist around your house, and you had like little mini bars in your spare rooms for your friends staying overnight. The best idea ever.
Thank you.
I love that.
I'm glad someone else appreciates this.
If I came to stay at your house, which would be amazing anyway, but if I went to the bedroom and then there was a little mini bar with some chocolate bars and stuff and drinks, I would never leave. It sounds like
That's
heaven.
the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of comes from my mom. Just, she thinks of how you can be the best host from every angle. Is there music playing? Are there candles lit?
Fab.
How
I love
can
all
you
of that.
create the best party
The scene.
atmosphere? The scene.
Love the scene.
The vibe.
Yeah. And who do you call in crisis? Is it your mum, your friends?
Ooh. I have a few friends that are there for that, like my friend Lena. She's really good to talk to when you're freaking out because she's so comforting, and she's so, like, she's always easy on me. She's always like, you're too hard on yourself, and she gives really good advice. I call my mom a lot of the time because I know she'll pick up any hour of the day.
Yeah.
But as far as friends go, my friend Carly's really good like that. She's very like nurturing and sweet. And Ed also is like, he puts it very plainly. He'll just be like, stop freaking out. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You're freaking
out. A good
out.
boy's perspective.
Yeah, his advice is very simple.
Yeah, I like that.
You're freaking out. Stop.
Yeah. The end.
Exactly.
Put the phone down.
Stop it.
And when you are on tour and it does get crazy, and I'm sure at times overwhelming, how do you check yourself? How do you stay healthy and stay so grounded with it all?
Well, sometimes it's not possible.
Yeah.
With kind of the chemical balance of your brain, sometimes you just aren't able to calm down. And I think that allowing yourself to feel okay about that is important, because a lot of the time we feel overwhelmed, or we feel insecure, or we feel sad, or we feel depressed, And then on top of that, we feel guilty for feeling those
Yeah.
things. And so it compounds it. And so it's just the most amount of negative emotions you
Oh,
can
yeah.
possibly be feeling. So I think that has to do with being a songwriter too. Some of the greatest lessons I've learned and the best songs I've written have come from when I didn't feel good about something. And so I just allow my brain to work through it on its own, and then sometimes I write a song about it and it makes me feel better about it.
Do you think that females in the music industry kind of get a tougher time because there's not only the focus on what you're doing musically, but there's the whole aesthetics of it, people wanting to know what you're wearing, why you're wearing it, what you look like, how tall you are, how thin you are, how fat you are. There's a whole other realm to it that guys don't necessarily have to deal with.
Exactly. I mean, I definitely feel that way, and I get that question all the time. The question that's like, well, why don't you dress like, and then they name a few girls in the industry, and they're like, why, that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't be asking Bruno Mars why he doesn't take his clothes
that wouldn't
off.
happen.
You wouldn't be, because he's known for being a musician.
Yeah.
And I'm known for being a musician too. It's just a choice you make. It's what you wear, what you want to wear as a musician, hopefully. And hopefully that comes from your own vision for yourself. You know, when I look around and I see at these award shows, you see people wearing anything from, like, if you see Florence and the Machine, she's in like this beautiful flowing gown, or if you see, someone else wearing a bikini on stage, I'm totally fine with both as long as it comes from that individual artist. I wouldn't like to think that there's a team of managers or image consultant type people who are saying you need to wear less clothes so you'll sell more albums.
Absolutely.
But as long as a woman feels like she's expressing her own sexuality or feels empowered looking a certain way on stage, just follow that.
Yeah, exactly.
I applaud that, but I do think it's harder for women. I honestly do. In music, in everyday life, in the media, the perceptions are a lot harsher when you're talking about a woman, and I think it's just a fact at this point.
It is definitely. Going back to just the music and what you're about, obviously your songs are known for being so beautifully raw and exposing in the best possible way. Do you ever feel some of the songs that you have written and have been released that you've said too much?
No,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've only ever written about what I have wanted to write about, and I feel really lucky that even though I started very young, I was never a puppet.
Yeah.
I never felt like I was playing a role or like I was doing what some people behind the scenes wanted me to do, because I was always in control of all of the material. And when you're writing all the songs, everything else just kind of comes from that. And, I've gone through all kinds of different phases as to how I've looked, and all those phases have been up to me. So I look back and there was a phase where I just wore dresses and cowboy boots. There was a phase where I would just wear 50s and 60s inspired things. And it's nice to look back and know that even if you think an outfit's embarrassing or something, you chose that outfit.
Yeah.
So
It's part of growing and becoming who you are
you don't
now.
feel manipulated, at least.
Yeah, so you've got no regrets.
No, not creatively.
Yeah.
Personally, you're like, oh.
Well, we've all got that. We've all got that. So looking back over your colossal career that you've already had, with so many years still to come, what has been sort of the outstanding shining moment of that career? Is it even possible to pluck it out of those years?
I think if I'm going to go for just career accomplishments and things like that, I think it still blows my mind that I got to win Album of the Year at the Grammys when I was 20.
Amazing.
It really doesn't feel like something that actually happened. So I think looking back on that, it looks like I'm watching some movie of somebody else's life.
How fab. That's so cool. And in 10 years, where do you want to be?
10 years, I'll be 34, almost 35. Wow. I want to be creative in some way. I don't know if I'll be on a stage. I don't know if I'll be behind the scenes writing songs for other people. That sounds like a dream to me. As long as I'd be continuing to fulfill that creative need, and that I would have a void. If I wasn't writing songs, that would be something very missing from my life.
Yeah.
And I honestly, at this point, I don't know if I want someone else in my life. I don't know if I want a family. It's like all those things are up in the air, and that's more exciting to me, because I'd really like to let life happen rather than have some weird plan for it. I think if you have a plan for I need to be married by this age and I need to have kids by this age, you'll kind of force your life to take that course, and
Yeah.
you might not end up with the right person. You might be making decisions kind of under duress of your own plans, and I just want to let my life happen.
You're just ready for adventures.
Oh, yes.
Good. Well, look, thank you so much. Just dreamy talking to you today again.
You too.
Thank you, Taylor.
You're dreamy.
Taylor, thank you very much for speaking with Spin 103 today, and congratulations on the album.
Thank you.
I've had a sneaky listen to it and it sounds amazing.
You had a sneaky listen.
Sneaky listen
That's
to a
awesome.
few tracks, which is amazing. So what can fans expect from the new album that maybe they haven't heard before?
What I'm excited about is that after putting out 4 albums, this is going to be my 5th one. I think the best thing you could possibly do for your fans is surprise them. After putting out that many records, and I wanted to change things up sonically. I wanted to keep the lyrics and the things that I know my fans are very attached to intact, and you know, stick with the idea of writing confessionally and writing kind of zinger lines, like lines they can quote, and you know,
Catchy lyrics.
yeah, catchphrases. I wanted to stick with that, but then again, I wanted to switch up what you heard underneath it. I wanted to switch up the primary instruments you're hearing and change that entire landscape, and that's what I'm very proud of on this record.
I have to say, in our office, we adore Shake It Off. When
You
it comes
do?
on, we all lose our mind. If we're on
Yes!
we're like,
That's all I've ever wanted. I'm so excited because my friend Ed Sheeran
he's
texted
good
me.
friend of the station.
He texted me last night and he's like, I'm in a club at 3 in the morning and I've heard Shake It Off 3 different times. I've been here for 2 hours. And I was just like, you know that's my dream. You know
amazing.
that's my only dream. That's all I've ever wanted is for people to dance to one of my songs, because usually people just cry to my songs.
No, people go mad for the time. It's so good.
That's amazing.
And the video is awesome as well. You, shall we say, try out a few dance types?
I ruin a few dances, that's for sure.
What is your go-to kind of dance move if you're out on a night out on the dance floor?
Oh, well, I think that the most important thing to dancing with your friends is not caring how you look. Because I think the people who I like to dance with the most are kind of look funny when they dance. Like it's kind of a comedy thing.
Comical, yeah.
You know, it's like karaoke. You know when you go to karaoke and there's that person who like gets up and sings like a perfect Whitney Houston song and like belts out the last note, and you're just like,
It's
couldn't
nice.
you just do a dumb rap? Like, couldn't you just like do something stupid or like some 90s
Yeah.
like cheesy
Like,
song?
you're very good, but it's kind of boring.
When you go out, like, don't try to be good at dancing. Just be as bad as you can be.
So
That'll
what's
make
your like signature bad move? Is it like robot style? Or?
It's all of it. Every possible kind of sprinkler, kind of terrible robot. It's just all of it. It's
Have
the
you-
worst thing you've
have
ever
you
seen.
tried Irish dancing?
Like river dancing?
Yeah.
Yes.
And are you-
No. Would you expect me to be good at it? It's a lot of footwork.
It is.
It's so
Basically,
impressive.
If you just take your feet around, then it's fine. It can pass.
Oh, well,
around.
maybe I could do that then.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I can just kick.
So I believe that you are a bit of a single Pringle at the moment, like myself.
Yeah, that's an amazing 2 words to rhyme together.
Single Pringle. you
I
know.
like it. Did you invent that?
I'm going to say yes.
I think you should take credit for
I'm
that.
going to play that one. So in one of your new tracks, Blank Space, does it kind of mean you're looking for someone to fill that space? Is that what we're kind of?
That song was something I legitimately wrote as a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like I sat down and I thought I was kind of having one of those days where I was a little frustrated by the fact that the media has kind of fictionalized my personal life to this cartoon extent, where it's like they've painted this picture of a girl who's like able to like get all these guys. She's a serial dater, but then and they like jet set around the world, and then she goes crazy and becomes clingy and needy and desperate, and then she like scares them off, and then they come back, but then they leave her again, and then she's left broken, and then she's scornful. It's like this whole profile of a, you know, over emotional, crazy, fragile, like starlet thing. And I thought that was actually kind of interesting and hilarious, and so I wrote a song from the perspective of what she would actually say in a song if I was her.
So you're taking them in, basically.
Yeah, it's done with a wink. And what's fun about music is that, you know, things that you can write kind of as a joke, a little bit like with a little humor in them. Most people get it. Like most people get that like Shake It Off is a funny, like it's funny. Like I'm not actually rapping seriously in that song. Like it's done with like
I got it.
exactly. Like but some people are like, "Oh my god, why is she trying to be a rapper?" Like you don't get it. Come on. They're like, she looks super awkward dancing in this video. It's like, oh my god. It's like you can't read comments.
Not at all. So you're so busy. Do you have time to go looking for lads, or are you just
No.
focused on work?
No, I don't know. I don't look for them. That just gets me in trouble.
Have you tried Tinder?
What?
Do you know Tinder?
I think I know what you're talking about. Is that where you?
It's so fun. Yeah, people come up and you swipe left or swipe right, and you choose who you like to go.
No. That's a nice idea.
It's fun. It's good for the banter.
You got to tell me some of those stories later if you have them.
I will. I can't on camera. So listen, talking about your fashion, you always look well, whether it's red carpet, whether it's just strolling around. Do you have particular fashion icons, or do you just go with your beginnings?
Thanks. I do have fashion icons. I think I was very inspired by the 50s and 60s a few years ago when I was out on tour with Red and stuff, so you saw a lot of high-waisted things and like sort of like long skirts and cardigans, and now I'm sort of more inspired by the 80s and 90s, which is much more like, I don't know, leg-centric and like crop tops and little play suits and things like that.
Huge. I love it. You mentioned Ed Sheeran earlier, and he's a good friend of Spin 102. He's always over. Do you plan to duet with him again, or work
You're
with
like,
him
we
again?
cannot get rid of him. He literally is here
Seriously,
every day.
He keeps turning up.
He's camped outside in the parking lot. You know, I think he and I always talk about the idea of working together again because it was such a fun thing for us to do. We toured together for a year, so you could not possibly have a better professional relationship than we have, and you couldn't have a better friendship. So I would never rule out working with him again.
He's so sound as well.
Yeah, right?
Just the nicest
This is
guy.
the best.
We got him his own bed when he came into Spin before,
Why?
because we figured he'd Ed in the bed. Right.
You're amazing with rhymes.
Really good.
Have you
rhyming.
made one up for my name yet? Are you working on it still?
Well, I was thinking Tay Tay. My name's Rachel, so Ray Ray. Tay Tay and Ray Ray.
Ray-Tay.
Ray Tay.
That's an amazing couple name.
Works so well.
Yeah.
So well. So listen, can we please talk cats for a while?
Yes.
I know you're into cats.
Yes,
I'm into
forever.
cats. You have 2 kitties.
Do you have cats?
I have 1 cat.
You have a cat, yeah.
A cat, not 2 cats.
Once you get 2, you sometimes feel like you're surrounded by cats.
Are you planning on getting more?
No.
Are
No,
you not
because
gonna go for the whole
sometimes
like,
when
cat
you're
lady?
in a car or you're in a small space and you're just really outnumbered by cats when you have 2 cats. But I think it's the perfect amount. I have like 2 cats. I have one that's like still a kitten and one that's an adult, and they have completely different personalities. It's very good.
Do they get along together?
They do now, but it was a real struggle for a while. It was like you had to separate them.
Oh, do they fight?
Yeah, like that's where the term cat fight comes from. It's not
a real thing.
It's a thing that that came from cats fighting.
They're so
Who
cute.
knew?
They're so cute. So I have to ask for all your fans in Ireland, are you coming back to perform for us to see us?
I would love to. It's definitely on my mind. You know, Ireland is one of my favorite places, so I'm really looking forward to coming back. It's been way too long.
Would you like to learn a couple of Irish phrases?
Are they going to get me in trouble?
I promise you not.
Okay.
Okay, so hello, and I'm Gaelic. Is Dia.
How do I know that you're not telling me how to say, like, you know,
I know, I told you my think this,
cankle
but
or something?
trust me, Ray Tay wouldn't do that.
Okay, so
Okay, so Dia Goich
Diagoich,
means hello.
hello.
On Cunis Atatu.
That's something dirty.
It's not, it means how are you, I swear.
No.
Cunis Atatu means how are you.
No, it doesn't. That's
It
something.
does. It means how's it going? You're not gonna say it, are you?
No, because I think it means something like sex.
No, I promise you that. I promise you. We'll stick with Dia Goich though. That really does mean hello.
Okay.
So you have done some acting in the past, bits and pieces,
Bits and pieces.
small bits.
Small bits.
Would you like to move more into that, or are you just happy doing the music for the moment?
Well, what's really fun is that I kind of get to tick off that box of acting and check that box off when I do music videos. So it's really fun because I do love acting and I love the theatrical side of what I do. and kind of, you know, that side of telling a story. But I'm good with making music videos right now. I'm so focused on this album that it's really, I'm very focused. When I'm obsessed with one thing, it's very hard for me to take my eye off of it. So with this album, it's really, all I'm thinking about is making videos for it, and, you know, all the things that go into getting the word out about this new music.
And how much say do you have in your videos? Do you like create the whole thing yourself? Are you working with a team of people?
I like to kind of be very visual with things. Like, after I write a song, I can tell exactly, usually, how I want to perform it on an award show or during the tour, and most of the time I get an idea for the video. The Shake It Off video was an idea I had immediately after I wrote the song. So what I'll do is I'll get the idea, and then I'll scour the internet for my opinion of the right director and reach out to them and say, hey, here's this new song, here's my idea for it, what do you think? And then they'll kind of elaborate on their contribution to it, like if they agree with it. So it's a really fun process, and I'm having a blast making videos for this new record. We've kind of gotten the jump on it. We've been doing it early.
Number 1 for music and entertainment. Ready? Spin 1038.